Look me in the eyes and don't you dare look away, because right now I'm going to pull the rug out from under your feet and destroy that sweet, sticky illusion you've been living in since childhood. You think you know what wealth is because you've seen it in movies and rappers' music videos and in social media feeds where smiling people pose in front of rented jets. You've convinced yourself that wealth is the ability to walk into any store without looking at the price tag and buy whatever your heart desires on a whim. What a monstrous infantile stupidity, worthy of a child left alone in a candy store. You are confusing financial power with financial incontinence. You think freedom is the ability to consume without limit. No. That is an addiction. That is a drug dependency where the dose is novelty and the dealer is a marketer laughing at you while you swipe your card. Real wealth, the kind the true owners of this world stay silent about, is not the ability to buy everything. It is a state of absolute icy indifference to what you can buy. It is when you walk past a storefront with a $100,000 watch and feel not lust, not envy, but boredom. You look at minimalism and grimace as if you've been offered a piece of rotten fish. To you, minimalism is a synonym for poverty. It's a desperate measure, a diet for those who can't afford the banquet. You think, I'll save money when things go bad, but as long as I have a credit card, I'm going to live. You see deprivation and asceticism. I see a strategic advantage that makes me invulnerable. Meanwhile, you, decked out in brands like a Christmas tree, are the perfect target for any crisis. I don't view minimalism as a rejection of pleasure, but as heavy infantry armor. While you build your life out of crystal and porcelain, terrified that any stone will shatter your facade, I build my life out of concrete and steel. You think things make you significant? That is the funniest joke the devil ever played on humanity. Things make you a hostage. Let's run a thought experiment that will make you feel nauseous from the realization of your own vulnerability. Imagine that tomorrow your income vanishes. It just evaporates. You're fired, the market crashes, the business burns down. How long would you last at the level of consumption you now proudly call a decent life? A month, two, and then you'll crawl on your knees to the bank or to a new master, begging to be taken back into slavery because you need to feed your primary demon, your status. You've built a castle on sand, and now you're forced to prop it up with your shoulders 24 hours a day, afraid to even step away for a bathroom break. You call that success? I call it voluntary confinement in a maximum security prison where you are simultaneously the prisoner, the guard, and the one paying the electricity bill for your own electric chair. And here is the twist, the Santa Barbara effect, when you suddenly realize that the villain in this story is not the bank, not the government, and not your boss. The villain is your own ego, whispering that you aren't good enough if you don't have the latest phone model. You think you buy things to own them? Wake up. The second you exchange your lifetime for a piece of plastic or metal, a terrifying metamorphosis occurs. You don't own the thing starts to own you. It demands maintenance, insurance, space, attention, and most importantly, it demands that you fear losing it. You become the storekeeper of your own junk, the security guard of your own trash. You work for your things. You are the service staff for your own wardrobe and garage. Do you think Sparta went down in history because they had the prettiest cloaks or the most expensive chariots? Sparta became a legend because they understood one simple, brutal truth. Anything that can be taken away from you is not yours. The only thing that is yours is what is inside your head and your character. They despised luxury, not because they were stupid, but because they knew luxury makes a warrior soft. Luxury is fat that slows down your reaction time. And in the world of finance, where predators eat herbivores for breakfast, being soft means being dead. You with your mortgages for palaces and loans for vacations are fattened geese being prepared for Christmas, and the knife is already being sharpened. You think your ability to spend is strength. No, your ability to not need, that is the only real power in this universe. When you need nothing, you cannot be bought, you cannot be intimidated, and you cannot be manipulated. Do you still think I'm calling for you to live in a barrel like Diogenes? You've understood nothing. I'm not calling you to poverty. I'm calling you to a wealth that doesn't depend on external attributes. I want you to look at your closet, stuffed with clothes you don't wear, at the gadgets that it became obsolete in 6 months, at the car that loses value while sitting in traffic, and see they're not achievements but shackles, like golden shiny heavy shackles that chain you to a galley called work to consume. You pull the oars to buy things you don't need to impress people you don't like. Isn't that the definition of insanity? But you keep rowing because you're afraid that if you stop, you'll see the emptiness inside yourself. I'm telling you to stop right now. Drop the oars. Look into that emptiness and fill it not with purchases, but with strategy. A strategy that will turn your life from an endless race for a carrot into an impregnable fortress. But are you ready to strip off these trinkets and put on armor, or do you like the clinking of your chains too much? Let's set aside your childish notions of comfort and look at the dry, ruthless arithmetic of survival, because it's right here in these boring numbers of your monthly budget that the code of your personal freedom or your lifelong slavery is hidden. Have you ever wondered why, when you get a raise, you feel relief for exactly 3 days before the noose around your neck tightens even more? You think it's a paradox? No, it's a mathematical trap you stepped into with the smile of an idiot. In the world of investment and war, there is a concept called target area. And right now, your target area is the size of an aircraft carrier that's impossible to miss. You call your expenses your standard of living. You're proud that you need $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month just to keep your pants on. But I call it the vulnerability index. The higher this index, the weaker you are, the more cowardly you are, and the easier it is to bring you to your knees. Imagine two people standing in the office of a tyrannical boss. The first one is you, burdened with mortgages, leases, subscriptions to services you don't use, and a habit of dining in restaurants where a salad costs a worker's daily wage. You need $5,000 a month just to keep from drowning. The second person is someone who has embraced the philosophy of Sparta. He lives modestly. His expenses are optimized down to $1,000. He doesn't depend on brands or the opinions of waiters. The boss starts yelling, demanding the impossible, humiliating them. What happens in your head? Cortisol spikes. You see electric bills, private school tuition, and car payments flashing before your eyes, and you swallow your tongue. You nod. You endure. You are a slave chained to the galley by your own needs. And what does the second man do? He looks at the boss with a slight condescending smile because he knows he has a runway of 5 years ahead of him. He can stand up, put his badge on the table, and walk out the door never to return. Who holds the real power in that room? The one with the higher title or the one who needs less? You think a high income makes you safe? That is the most dangerous lie the consumer culture ever sold you. High income without low expenses is just high-octane fuel for an engine racing toward a cliff. You inflate your needs like a balloon, and the bigger that balloon gets, and the thinner its walls become, and the easier it is to pop with even the smallest needle of a crisis. Getting fired, an illness, a recession. And for a Spartan, these are just changes in the weather, a reason to put on a cloak. For you, with your bloated lifestyle, it's a death sentence. You've turned your life into a house of cards where every card is a check you are obligated to pay. Do you feel that constant background itch of anxiety? Now, that's not work stress. That's your intuition screaming at you that you've backed yourself into a corner. You built a golden cage, locked yourself from the inside, and threw the key out the window, hoping no one would notice your despair. And here's the twist, the Santa Barbara effect that should make you rethink everything. You think your things are your trophies. You look at your car and think, I achieved this. No, that car achieved you. Your things have taken you hostage. The second you signed the contract to buy something you couldn't truly afford, you became an asset for the bank and a liability for yourself. You think you're a consumer? Wake up. You are the one being consumed. The system eats your time, digests your energy, and spits you out in the form of taxes and loan interest. You are a battery in the matrix, generating current so someone else can live a real life. Minimalism in this context is not about sleeping on the floor and eating rice. It's about shrinking your target area to the size of a needle's eye. Who is harder for the sniper of fate to hit? A fat, slow-moving target that can't budge due to the weight of his junk, or a nimble light target that needs nothing? You must become elusive. You must become a financial ghost, a person whose expenses are so small compared to their income that any economic storm is just a light breeze to them. But you're afraid. You're afraid that if you stop spending, you'll cease to exist for society. You're afraid of becoming invisible. And that fear is exactly the leash the marketers use to yank you around. They say, you deserve this, but they mean, you owe us money. You trade your freedom for beads like a tribesman, except your beads are made of plastic and carry the logo of a bitten apple or a German car brand. Are you ready to admit that your love for comfort is actually Stockholm Syndrome, that you've fallen in love with your jailer, because until you admit it, you will keep running on this down escalator that accelerates every year until your heart stops from the overload? Do you want to know what this self-destruction mechanism you call a career and success actually looks like, and why even doubling your salary tomorrow morning won't save you, but will only hasten your collapse? Imagine you are running up an escalator that is racing down at breakneck speed, and you are so proud of how fast your legs are moving that you don't even notice the walls around you remain stationary. This is your financial life, which you call a career, but which any competent engineer would call a zero efficiency system. You pray for a raise, you dream of bonuses, you think an extra $1,000 a month will be the lifebuoy that pulls you out of the swamp of anxiety. But you're overlooking one dirty little secret of human neurobiology that turns every success into a defeat. This secret is called hedonic adaptation, though I prefer to call it a metabolic error. As soon as your income grows, your brain, that pleasure-hungry addict, instantly rewrites the definition of normal. What was an awe-inspiring luxury yesterday becomes a basic necessity today, without which you feel miserable and deprived. You get a raise, and what happens at that very second? You don't save the difference. You trade the Toyota for a BMW. You trade the suburban apartment for a downtown studio. You start drinking wine with a name you can't pronounce. You think you're raising your quality of life? No, you're just increasing the cost of your technical maintenance. You are turning yourself into an incredibly expensive, inefficient mechanism that guzzles fuel by the tanker load just to stand it idle. Do you feel the terror? You work more, you earn more, but the money left at the end of the month is exactly the same. Zero. Or even worse, negative. Because as your income grows, so does your credit limit. And banks gladly give you a longer rope, knowing you'll weave a noose out of it yourself. But why do you do it? Why can't you stop? Because you're trying to feed your ego, and the ego is a bottomless black hole. You buy things not to use them, but so they signal your new status to the world. But here is the twist that will make you feel betrayed by your own psyche. Once you get used to a new level of comfort, the way back becomes not just difficult, it becomes psychologically unbearable. Giving up luxury feels like physical pain, like losing a limb. You back yourself into a trap where any step backward is perceived as a catastrophe, and that is why you will cling to a job you hate with your teeth, endure humiliation, and burn out, just so you don't lose the ability to pay for that damn lease. You think this is progress? This is obesity, financial obesity. You are accumulating the fat of obligations, which slows you down, makes you short of breath, and makes you clumsy. Remember Sparta. Do you think they wore iron instead of gold because they were poor? They were richer than any of your neighbors, but they understood the alchemy of power better than modern economists. Like Kyrgyz, their lawmaker, banned gold coins and introduced huge, heavy, ugly iron ingots as money. Why? To make wealth inconvenient, to make the accumulation of luxury physically difficult and shameful. They knew that gold makes a man weak. It attracts thieves. It makes you afraid. Iron, however, makes a man strong because iron is used to take gold from those who have grown too relaxed. You, however, do the exact opposite. You turn your capital into trinkets that scream, "Rob me," whether it's real robbers or robbers in expensive suits calling themselves marketers. You put a target on yourself, paint a red dot on your forehead, and wonder why life keeps shooting problems at you. But the most terrifying discovery awaits you now, when you realize that your race for comfort is an escape from yourself. You fill your space with things because you fear the silence in which you might hear your own true thoughts. You're afraid to realize that you are empty. A Spartan could sit in an empty room and feel like a king because his kingdom was within. You sit in a palace stuffed with guy with technology and feel like a pauper because you need more. And here lies the main conflict of this drama. You think lifestyle inflation is a sign of growth, but in reality, it is a sign of the degradation of your will. You're losing control over your impulses. You are becoming an animal that reacts to a stimulus. I see, I want, I buy. And where is the human here? Where is the mind? Where is the vaunted rationality? It's gone. There are only reflexes and bank transactions. You have become the perfect consumer, the dream of corporations, a battery that gladly gives its energy so the system can keep running. But are you ready to find out how to break this vicious cycle? How to jump off this treadmill before it breaks your legs? Because there's a way out, but it will require a level of ruthlessness toward yourself that only a few are capable of. Are you ready to see an alternative that is terrifying in its simplicity and efficiency? I see that grimace of disgust on your face. I hear your inner child stomping its foot and screaming, "The old man has lost his mind. He's telling me to live in a cave, dress in burlap, and eat sunlight." But before you turn off this video and return to your cozy cocoon of self-deception, let me let you in on a secret that will make you feel not like a victim of circumstances, but like a general planning a decisive battle. Do you think I preach asceticism for the sake of asceticism? Do you think I enjoy deprivation? What nonsense. I love comfort as much as you do, but I hate vulnerability. And that is why I'm offering you not a diet, but a military strategy called aggressive accumulation. You look at minimalism as a rejection of the good, as a loss, as an amputation of joy. But that is an optical illusion created by your sick ego. Try turning the binoculars around. Minimalism is not about rejecting the extra. It's about concentrating resources for a strike. It is cutting away everything that prevents you from becoming dangerous to a system that is used to seeing you as a cash cow. Let's talk about what I call the gap. And if you understand this concept, you will become wealthier than 90% of people, even if your salary stays the same. The gap is the difference between what you earn and what you spend, and it is the only space where your freedom exists. You can earn $1 million, but if you spend $1 million, your gap is zero, and you are a slave who simply has a more expensive chain. You are suffocating because you've stuffed your financial throat with consumption. You can't take a deep breath. You live paycheck to paycheck, balancing on the edge of an abyss. But if you earn $3,000 and spend $1, your gap is enormous. Like, you breathe deeply, you have oxygen, you have maneuverability. This gap is not just savings. It's a compressed spring ready to fire at any moment. Do you think the purpose of money is to buy things? No, the purpose of money is to buy options on the future. When you have a gap, you can buy time, you can buy risk, you can buy the opportunity to tell your boss to go to hell. Isn't that worth giving up a new iPhone for? But here is the twist that should blow your mind. Every dollar you don't spend on trash, every dollar you rip from the claws of marketers and keep for yourself is not just a coin. It is your captive soldier. You saved him from execution at the supermarket checkout. And now you have a choice. You can desert and drink it away, or you can send him to the front lines where he will fight for your freedom 24 hours a day without lunch breaks or sleep. Investing isn't about boring charts. It's about recruiting an army. Right now, your army is pathetic. You send your soldiers to the slaughter for a minute of pleasure. You trade your loyal fighters for coffee, for rags, for impressions that will evaporate by morning. You are a traitor to your own general staff. I'm telling you to become a ruthless commander. Every time you want to buy something, ask yourself, am I ready to kill this soldier for this thing? If the answer is no, you keep the money in the gap, you invest it, and it starts seizing territory for you. Do you think this is a metaphor? This is a brutal reality. Money is the concentrated energy of your life, and when you spend it mindlessly, you are burning chunks of your time that will never return. But when you accumulate, a magic happens that you don't notice. You begin to change your psychology. You stop being needy. You walk into a meeting room, and you smell not of the fear of losing your job, but of the icy calm of a man who has a legion of capital standing behind him. Do you think people don't feel that? They feel it in their skin. Money loves silence and confidence. Aggressive accumulation turns you from a petitioner into the one who dictates terms. You start looking at the world not as a storefront where you want to buy everything, but as a battlefield where you need to seize key high ground. And the most important high ground is your independence. And here is where the Santa Barbara effect happens. When you realize that all this time, the enemy wasn't outside, but inside. You thought the economy, inflation, or the government was stopping you from getting rich. No, it was your desire to appear rich that destroyed your ability to be rich. You were paying a vanity tax. Minimalism is the evasion of that tax. It's a legal way to stop feeding the parasites living in your head. Do you think I'm offering you a boring life? On the contrary, a consumer's life is boring and predictable. Earn, spend, die. An aggressive accumulator's life is a thriller. You are building an empire in secret from everyone. You wear old jeans, but you know you could buy the whole store. This gives a sense of superiority and inner strength that no logo on your chest could ever provide. You become the gray eminence of your own destiny. But are you ready for this? Are you ready to endure the mockery of fools who will call you a miser, not understanding that you are simply redirecting resources from the facade to the foundation? Are you ready to become a financial Spartan who eats simple food so that his sword remains sharp? So this requires a discipline that makes the modern person's teeth ache. But the alternative is an eternal run in a hamster wheel. I'm telling you to break the wheel. I'm telling you to use minimalism as a battering ram that will smash through the wall of your financial prison. Do you think this is the end of the story? No, it's only the beginning. Because when you accumulate a critical mass, when your army becomes strong enough, you will face a new, even more terrifying question. What do you do with this freedom? How do you not lose yourself when external limitations vanish? Are you ready to find out how the warrior's path truly ends and why many break at the very moment of victory? Listen to me carefully and let these words burn a warning into your subconscious that might save you from a fate far worse than bankruptcy, the fate of being buried alive under a heap of your own junk that you call success. We have reached the final line and now must reveal to you the most terrifying secret of ownership, the one that realtors and luxury car salesmen stay silent about, because if you knew it, their businesses would collapse overnight. You think that when you buy a thing, you become its master? What delightful suicidal naivety. At the very second the transaction goes through and you receive the receipt, an invisible but irreversible role reversal occurs. You don't own the thing starts to own you. It colonizes your space. It occupies your time. It demands maintenance, insurance, repair. And most horribly, it demands your mental energy, forcing you to fear for its safety. You turn from a conqueror into a frightened watchman, trembling over his warehouse, terrified that someone might scratch his precious piece of metal. Have you ever wondered why the greatest military machine of antiquity, Sparta, eventually fell and turned into a tourist attraction for the Romans? Do you think they were defeated by stronger swords or cleverer strategies? No, they were defeated by exactly what is killing you right now. They were defeated by a love for comfort. As long as they slept on hard beds and ate black broth, they were invincible because they had nothing to lose but their honor. No, as soon as gold began to flow into Sparta, as soon as they began to drape themselves in silks and build palaces, they became soft. The fat of luxury clogged the arteries of their warrior spirit. They stopped being predators and became prey, because a rich but pampered man is the perfect victim for a hungry barbarian. Look at yourself in the mirror. Who do you see there? A Spartan ready for battle, or a fattened goose the system is preparing to roast for Christmas? You have draped yourself in obligations, mortgages, and status so tightly that you can't even move without getting winded. And here comes the moment of truth, the Santa Barbara effect that will turn your idea of freedom upside down. Do you think I want to take away your toys to punish you? Do you think I'm a senile old man who hates joy? You're wrong again, and that mistake is costing you, your life. I don't want to take things away from you. I want to give you back to you. You have fused so tightly with your consumption that if someone took away your car, your apartment, and your designer clothes tomorrow, there'd be nothing left of your personality but a wet spot. You are your things. You have delegated your self-esteem to a piece of plastic with a logo. This isn't wealth. It's an identity crisis disguised as success. The real horror isn't living modestly. The real horror is realizing that without your expensive scenery, you are an empty mannequin. Minimalism isn't a way to save money. It's a way to reclaim the soul you pawned to the shop of public opinion. You are standing on the edge of an abyss, and you have only two paths. You can continue to play this game, accumulate junk, build walls out of things, hide behind them from reality, and hope that this house of cards doesn't collapse when the wind of change blows. And it will blow. Believe me, I've seen 14 recessions, and they always come for those who have relaxed. Or you can choose the path of the warrior, a path where you voluntarily reject the extra to become lighter, faster, and more dangerous. A path where your capital is not a showroom of achievements in the garage, but numbers in a brokerage account and a steel will in your heart. Does it hurt? Yes. Your ego will squeal and resist like a pig at the slaughter. But this pain is the birth pain of a new personality, a personality that doesn't need the crutches of luxury to feel confident. I can't make this choice for you. I can only show you where the key to your cell lies, but you must turn it yourself. Do you want to be the master of your life or the storekeeper of your junk? Do you want to be Sparta at the peak of its power or Rome at the moment of its decline? The answer to this question will determine not only your financial future, but who you will be when you are left alone with yourself in the dark. Do you have the courage to shed the extra weight and become invulnerable? Or do you like the glitter of your chains too much? Write just one word in the comments that will become your vow in the face of eternity. Write warrior if you are ready to ruthlessly cut expenses, kill the consumer within you, and build a fortress of real assets instead of posturing. Or write consumer if it's more important for you to appear rich to your neighbors than to be free for yourself. I will be reading, and I will know which of you has a backbone and who is just biomass processing the planet's resources into trash. Time starts now. Decide.